Good afternoon and welcome to Talk Sports. It is our weekend program, Saturday Sports Special to be exact. And welcome one and all to another of our exciting program. On this weekend's program, it's just an open discussion. So myself and my co-host Rudieon Sylvan, who's already waiting in Toronto. I'll show you something in a while. Don't worry. Right? Yeah. He's waiting, but I know he did that. He did that for spite. I think he's trying to spite me today. But Rudieon is waiting. So let me say good afternoon to you, Rudieon.
Good afternoon, Michael. The city is on high. The city of Toronto is on high. So certainly I am representing is not to spite you in any way, but certainly, this is the moment that we're in. It's been 32 years and it's the moment that we're in. You certainly have to. When my mom and my aunt and them, when they're telling me about they went to the parade and they went downtown when the Blue Jays win and they know nothing but baseball. They asked them what is a base, they can't tell them, but they were downtown with the crowd. I said, I need my own. I need to, to certainly enjoy my own. And so far, so good. So far, so good.
Yeah,
So
well,
go Jays, go Jays.
yeah. Well, I'm only saying that because, again, we have to say thanks to the Yankees, because if it wasn't for the Yankees,
Yes. It wasn't for the Yankees.
you would not have been there,
And that,
right?
and that was a surprise because I didn't expect them to, to pass the Yankees at all.
Yeah.
Certainly. I think I believe it was the year of the Yankees based on how they're playing and the team that they have. But it just, I guess who is hungry more or who wanted more at the moment.
Yeah. All right. Well, we wish them all the best. I think it was game one, right? Game one?
Game one. Yes, game one. Yeah.
Yeah, the guys sing the national anthem and all sort of things. And
It was I watched games in the past years. I never watched an opening game. And to see the spectrum of it, it certainly was remarkable. Certainly was. And I'm pretty sure when he goes to LA on Monday, Sam, calm down, slow down. Certainly, when he goes to LA on Monday, we will see another ceremony, another, I think it's going to be something good to see in LA. A lot of the celebrities and them is out there. It will be amazing. It will be amazing.
well,
Yeah.
all right. Good afternoon to you, Sam. Good afternoon to you in New Jersey. And then, as you say, go Dodgers, right?
Go Dodgers.
Last week we had a very exciting, interesting program with Mr. Keith Joseph.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
out of
Yes.
that, we had a few, right? We had a few um, discussions, I should say, and
Yeah.
some things that I believe we want to expand on. One has to do with the question you asked him regarding the where he suggested a sort of NCAA type format
That's
in the
been
Caribbean.
listen that's been on my mind all week. I was on another program, and that's something that we spoke about, and then we did say we're going to get into it in detail.
Yeah.
But this is something I'm really excited about. I think it can happen. I think it's just putting things together. That's really what I think. I really hope them universities and colleges can see the future and put things together. Yeah.
All right. Let me say good afternoon to God and Julian again. Good afternoon, gentlemen and women of the sporting grand jury. Congratulations to the Jays for reaching the World Series and winning game one. All right. Yeah. So that aspect there, I think it'll be interesting for us
You dive into it a little bit. Yeah.
yes. So what I'll do, I will sort of play it, and then we'll come back
Yeah.
and have a little discussion
On
about
that
that.
discussion
Let me
on it.
see
Yeah.
if
Certainly.
yeah, let me see if I can get the right one. But I think it's to me it's an important discussion that we should have, right? And I believe that it's timely with all that's going on with the geopolitics and things like that. So
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
so stand by. Let's listen to it.
For the university and have they ever tried to get university games in the Caribbean, including the colleges, and so that maybe some of these islands who have colleges and university could take sports on more seriously?
It is topical now.
Okay.
UE has its own games, right? Um, but they've not looked at incorporating UTech, for example, JC Foster. It's inter-campus games among the UE itself. But you have
Yeah.
University of Guyana, you have JC Foster and UTech in Jamaica, right? Um, I believe that given the kind of geopolitics we are seeing now coming out of the US, that it may not be far-fetched to think that at some point we may have some blockages with regard to access to scholarships, at
Yeah.
sports scholarship. But importantly, up until a few years ago, as you know, our friend Zanel Hughes from Anguilla, that he was blooded in Jamaica going to the schools. Our own Handel Roban, who just made it in the top 16 in the world in the 800, he was
Yeah.
at Jamaica College, right? Casey and others for the last few years were encouraging and providing scholarships for other Caribbean countries, etc. Suddenly, out of the blue, the Intersecondary School Sports Association in Jamaica, ISA, created a regulation that limited the number of people, similar to cricket and England when we were doing so well, right? And you wonder what is the rationale for it? Because as a Caribbean country, I don't think Jamaica wants to be seen as a spoiler in terms of progressive ventures to have this region united, right? They already came out of federation with a black eye because of the decision back in 1962. I don't think they really want to do that, and I don't think that the intention is that, but it could end up that way, where so many of our athletes had a pathway. We're saying now, if at a regional level, if we can get the universities in the region to agree to provide a certain number of sports scholarships per year, we can begin the equivalent of a Caribbean NCAA, where our athletes don't have to go anywhere. The same way the Jamaicans are staying at home. Why can't we be blooding most of our athletes to stay at home? Because if we have the coaches, they can be reaping the same benefits that others are getting. We just have to commit to it and agree that we will work towards this and get together a number of experts who will facilitate that and bring it to the attention of our governments to say, look, can we work with the private sector in terms of getting this done? A study that Cannock has just asked UE to do for us through the Faculty of Sport is for us to do an analysis of the role of the private sector in sport development or in sport in the Caribbean. Are they really contributing enough? If not, why not? Okay, and how much reliance do we have on the public sector? So what kind of public private partnership are we getting in sport across the Caribbean? That is a study we promised we actually promised the president of Guyana we will do that. But we're certainly hoping that we will do it and be able to have the information available to the people of the Caribbean, not just the political leadership. The peoples of the Caribbean need to have an input in terms of sport as a vehicle for national and regional development.
Yeah. So, Rudieon, why you thought it necessary to ask the question one, and what's your take from that?
No, certainly, Michael. Like we said, we see the geopolitics is happening in the United States, and and a lot of athletes now, when I speak to some parents in the Caribbean, talk about the fear of sending their kids abroad, the issues they might end up with, and I mean, we know what the government is in the United States. They could wake up tomorrow and say something, and that's one of the things that we have to be, concerned about. And I think it's time for the Caribbean to start building their own we talk about the NACAC region, and let us exclude the United States and Canada for a moment, and just focus on even within the Caribbean and maybe one or two South American countries. We have a powerhouse in sports. There's a power right there in sports. And what that will do for us in the Caribbean, not only for track and field, soccer, or even cricket, volleyball, netball, is something that is also lacking in terms of an expansion of the sport itself. And that will be something that will be very, very, interesting to see some of our good athletes and who love the sport of netball have an opportunity, want to get an education with it and want to play. Because, the expand of netball, especially in Jamaica, when Jamaica now have a league, open up a chance for these netball players to make some sort of money, to turn this into a career for themselves. So I think if something like this could be within the Caribbean, and again, we select some of the sports, of what they can start with. Certainly, I think that could be a big boost for the Caribbean, for athletes looking to go away. Now you might see countries sending their athletes to the Caribbean. Now, instead of athletes in the Caribbean going out, we might see more athletes out coming in.
And then we have some of the conditions in terms of the warm weather and all these sort of things.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And everything is, and I think everything is perfect. Well, what that would also do to, I think, on a CARICOM concept, to where when CARICOM will come in and play, also with now inter-Caribbean traveling. This is something that's been lacking too, right? Because it's something that's, we talk about in terms of, yes, why we see less, because there's no businesses happening into Caribbean islands. That's why we don't see much flights. So hopefully that can change that we see more of that happening, so that people can travel within the Caribbean islands now with sports, and the games might be in Barbados, and next one might be in St. Lucia, one might be, certain events, certain games happening that can take place in certain places, right? We see it in the United States, where look at Hawaii.
Yeah.
Most of the games, they have to fly. They have to fly in Hawaii. They have to fly out of Hawaii, and everything is a flight. To go to everywhere, right? Hawaii. Everything is a flight, and they are part of the NCAA. They are a part of the NCAA. So they have to travel out to go to most of the states and most of these places, right? So yeah.
Yeah, right. Another aspect, and I like, and the whole issue of intra-regional travel is also embedded in that discussion in terms of the regional university games and things like that. That is very important, right? One of the things that he touched on in last week's program, but I don't think it, we had observed it that important, but we are seeing it played out over the past few days. We call it the militarization of the Caribbean, and how in the context of sports, right? I want us to listen to Mr. Keith Joseph on that aspect, and we come about the militarization of the Caribbean.
Of course, listen, the members, our people are involved in sport. For donkey years, we've been talking about the Caribbean as a zone of peace, and right now it's increasingly less so. It's something that we need to advocate for. The athletes live in an environment, and they need a healthy and safe environment. We talk about safe sport. Safe sport is not only freedom from drugs. Safe sport is not only avoiding all sorts of forms of discrimination. It is being members of the society in every sense. And where our sports people are leaders, they need to be exemplary in their behavior, in their conduct, but also in speaking out against wrong. That's why we talk about human rights and the concern for the well-being of our people. That is our right as citizens of the Caribbean. And we ought not to be afraid to speak about it. Yes, when you speak out, there may be consequences, and we saw that with Muhammad Ali and others. You have a responsibility to the people around you, to the society in which you live, to the community in which you grew up, to the schools that you were once attending, to ensure that all of them have an understanding that you're not alienating yourself from them or from your communities or from your societies, but that you are deep within it, loving it, caring for it, and speaking out against any wrong that comes against it.
So, Rudieon, you think any sports personality in the region will probably speak out?
I do hope they would, especially bigger sport like cricket, and they'll speak about that. Their name is so brand more. Hopefully, even also a bigger brand such as the NACAC, since we have the president in the Caribbean. Hopefully, they can speak out on that, and I really think that would be very important and it could make a difference.
Yeah.
But it's like, other sports like like football is not, it's not as as brand as it is in terms of soccer and in terms of cricket. And even so you fall, because same thing with NACAC falls under a variety of different sporting bodies, so they're not only speaking for one thing. There's a lot more that is speaking for, but it'll be nice to see the Cricket Association, the West Indies, do speak out on it.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Well, you said so Canuck, probably NACAC, CONCACAF,
CONCACAF, yeah.
They're quite a number of sporting associations. How do we
The region,
ensure that the region maintains a safe zone, especially for our sportsmen and sportswomen, right?
Yeah, and especially like you see some things happening now, like, and I mentioned cricket because, like I said, I mentioned cricket because cricket is an Olympic sport, and like you said, it's going to be an Olympic sport. If it's for this Olympics or other Olympics in the future, but it is right now designated and is an Olympic sport, and I see it as the biggest sporting body in the Caribbean, in terms of an individual sport. Like I said, when I said NACA, when I talk about the NACAC and their body of sports that's under them, but we talk about cricket itself. Cricket is cricket only. Cricket West Indies, they're just cricket or cricket Caribbean, whichever it is. So that's why I mentioned cricket, because I think because it's expanding beyond just not in just cricket in playing in the world. Now it's an Olympics, so suddenly.
Well, and so we have it even at the Commonwealth Games. We have it at CSC, Pan Am, Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games. Yeah, and the Olympics now. So
yeah. The concern you had, and we had some discussion about it after Mr. Joseph left, had to do with the clash of the Commonwealth Games and the CAC Championships. Let's hear Mr. Joseph on that one. The member federations, the NOCs, preparing for Commonwealth Games. Are we on for Commonwealth Games 2026, Glasgow?
I think we're on for Commonwealth Games and CAC Games. I think it's an unfortunate situation that has happened. That Commonwealth Games is actually on the same dates as CAC Games. Neither party wanted to change. The problem is that Commonwealth Games was initially awarded to Victoria in Australia. And they pulled out after 2 years. So it left Commonwealth Sport with only a short window to get a host. They weren't getting any. And then Glasgow stepped in and said, we can do the games for you in the short time you have, but here are the conditions. It will be no longer than 10 days. it will involve no more than 10 sports, not the 28 or 30 that you used to have. And these are the precise days that we could use. It's not changing, right? But CAC said, but we agreed on our dates how many years ago? And this is the 100th anniversary of Central Caribbean sport, right? What used to be CACSO. So we can change our dates. So what you will have, what has been happening over the last several months, is they've been making minor adjustments to allow best athletes the opportunity to be where they need to be for both games. So athletics has made some adjustments so athletes can leave one and go to the other and compete in their pet events, etc. So some of that has worked, but it's a very uncomfortable situation. But we have a commitment because CAC Games is Central America and the Caribbean. We have the majority of numbers in that grouping. Okay? So we have to be there. And it's the oldest multi-sport games after the Olympics, having been established in 1926. Okay? The Commonwealth Games started in 1930. Okay, 4 years later. So there's a responsibility for us to be in both because we are also aware that in terms of ranking, you get higher level competition at the Commonwealth Games. And so we understand why some elite athletes may say, look, that's where I want to be because I could get more ranking points. And also, I'm getting a free trip from the Olympic Committee to go to Europe. So I could stay off there and ply my trade running at some money meets, etc. So it will take some doing for national Olympic committees with the athletes of the national federations to determine how this thing pans out. But I think we'll be attending both.
So he said that they will be attending both, but certainly some concerns for coaches and coaches, managers, and athletes.
No, certainly, Michael. Listen, the distance is very far, and I haven't seen the schedules yet to know what is the arrangement for one of the other. And some good athletes might just stay in one place because now you have to travel you from one to the next. They're talking about your legs. You're sitting on a plane for so much hours. It is a lot of hours to Australia. A lot of hours flying. That might come with a lot of stops of the Caribbean Games, and it could be very challenging. And unless this is my thing, I think the federation should do two things: have two groups, one going to one and one going to the other, like the countries, I may say, have two groups, one going to one game and one going to the other games. It open up for you as a country having representations at some of these games. So athletes get you have an athlete who might be, some of the high tier athletes might want to go to the Commonwealth Games, but your second tier athletes can go to the Caribbean Games. So athletes do get an opportunity to represent the country, and the country do get to be represented in both of the sports. So I think that's what it should be. If, for example, if Greta say we only take in with 7 to the Commonwealth Games, well, then we figure out which 7 they're going to take. And if you say we're going to send 14 to the Commonwealth to the CSC Games, then they have to figure that out too. So athletes now have a choice now to figure. Some athletes may say, this. I'm just using it for an example, but I think that's going to be. I think it's going to be such a challenge for athletes leaving a country, competing there, and then flying to rejuvenate the body again to compete again. I think it's going to be hard. It's the nature of the sport, and I get it. Watching the Golden State Warriors play 2 nights ago, and then they had to, when they're done at midnight or whichever, they had to jump on a plane to go to Portland because they're playing there last night. So they didn't even get to go home. You see them going on the plane. It's dark. It's probably time in the morning. Go to get some rest. So those are the things like that.
But wouldn't there be the argument that athletes or coaches can treat it like the Diamond Race, and probably the following weekend you're probably either you could be somewhere in Shanghai or Beijing or Morocco, Rabat. I'm talking about like Diamond League cities, right? So they will probably wait until the schedule
and that's what I'm saying, because
and that will guide them in terms of how they place their
yeah, because I said the timing matters, because like again, the both games are at the same time. They are adjusting to adjusting to fit the track and field athletes, the rest of the sport. So we don't know who else is going to be, the rest of the sport is going to be affected as well. Because the Commonwealth Games, branch out to, yeah.
Yeah, but based on what he said, I think the Commonwealth Games agreed to I think cut down on some of the, reduce on some of the
events.
Yeah,
but we don't know which end yet.
Yeah. From yeah, that's true. But obviously,
we know for sure track and field is going to be there. Yeah. I'm probably cricket. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but certainly, and that if it makes sense to do one or the other, I mean, works for some, because you might be going, like I said, traveling to come back. You have 2 days. Is 2 days enough for you to get yourself ready? Because you remember, jet lag is not an easy thing. I'm talking about flying a longer distance than the Diamond League, which is sort of in a European country, where it's like not too far from going from one to the next. Australia is a long way. It's a long way, so certainly, yeah.
One of the other things that Mr. Keith Joseph, who, as you know, is the president of the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees, was calling on was for regional governments to place sport at the center of their national development agendas, arguing that underutilized tools for unity, for productivity, and economic growth across the Caribbean. When it comes to budget presentation and these sort of things, that all governments, ministers, prime ministers will already talk about the commitment to sports and what sports can do, but we are not seeing that seriousness in terms of putting sport on the national development agenda, right? Yeah. And Mr. Joseph, of disappointment, I should say, that sport continues to be treated as an afterthought by many of the Caribbean leaders, despite its proven record. But he singled out, I think it was he spoke of President Ifnali of Guyana. Guyana's president. Ifran Ali of Guyana and Mia Motley of Barbados. Let's say what from Ghana, the approach for sports must be a little more serious.
I think we have two of the current heads that are likely to be very supportive of our appeal. And that is the president of Guyana, Ali, and the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Motley. I think we have written to Mia and Honorable Motley, and she has agreed that she would give us support. And we have spoken, in fact, when we were here in January, we had an hour and a half, the number of sports facilities that he has been constructing over the last few years, and those that are in the pipeline to be constructed. Clearly, they are bent on working on developing sport. As to how they have gotten to CARICOM, I was indeed very, very disappointed that in the second summit that CARICOM has had with Africa, that sport was not on there. And I wonder whether it is that some of our leaders are caught up in the whole euphoria of what cricket meant for us at some point. Because we talk about cricket having been the embodiment of our aspirations. That was at a particular point in time in our history, right? And since the 1940s, athletics has been doing that. The entire region focuses on the Olympics and World Championships in athletics, in a way that they haven't been able to do in terms of cricket. The aficionados of cricket in any one country will do that. But the entire nation, in every case, comes to when our athletes are performing. Jamaica media talked about how whenever Bolt was running, there was no crime. People would do pity. And we have not utilized that because we knew that brand Bolt became bigger than brand Jamaica because he became the embodiment of Jamaica, right? But I don't think that our politicians have understood the value of sport to the image that the Caribbean has had on the global stage. Yes, we can talk about how much the world knows Lara. You don't have half as many countries playing cricket as you have in athletics, right? You have 206 member national Olympic committees in the international Olympic movement that participate in the Olympics. So the reach is far more extensive, and we are not making use of that. Many people know our athletes because of what they have done, carrying our respective country flags on the world stage, and then monetize that. Many talk about sport tourism, but they only talk about it when we're hosting an activity at that point in time. We have not put in place the kind of social and political and economic infrastructure to support sport as a pillar of the economy. We talk about physical relationship to productivity, its relationship to discipline, and yet we don't seem to think that those are valuable aspects of life and the development of the individual members of our society, such that we can have a healthier nation, a more productive nation, and a nation that continues to bring sports people to our shores in order to enhance the economy. When you look at sport tourism in most of our countries, who leads it? The private sector hoteliers. So you have celebrity golf, you have celebrity this, you have the most recent hosting of the T20 World Cup. Shallow and others were able to show the income generated in the islands that hosted matches in that. And yet that has fallen flat in terms of people are more concerned about talking about the fact that the cricket team has lost, etc. What we need is the share hosting of the World Cup. We had inflows of funds and revenue that we were able to boast about. So what is it that prevents us from convincing our members? And I want to say something that I think is very, very important. Years ago, when the federation collapsed, many of the analysts had all sorts of things to say. But one analyst in particular, Douglas Hall, says, you know what the problem was? The problem was that it was a federation of people along with them. Sport starts with the people. And if we engage sport as a vehicle for bringing our peoples together, we're sure likely to be more successful. And that is what CARICOM has not yet been able to do, to bring our people together.
So Rudieon, you're one who believes and agrees that CARICOM has failed us, right? Yes. Because he even pointed to and I will go go back to that part because I noticed to shake your head when that the second carry comment from the agenda. Why do you think?
Yeah.
Why do you think it was important for sport to be part of the agenda on that summit?
Because suddenly, Michael, what's happening in the world to sports is a vehicle to build nations.
Right.
To create
to unite,
to bring
to
unite a country and not only to unite but also to build your finance. Blue Jays played home yesterday. The bars was filled from since 1 o'clock in the day for an 8 o'clock game. People was eating and drinking all day long. That at 7 o'clock. So this is an opportunity for business at the same time. I see people in the stands hugging each other next to them. They don't know them. And if I say that I don't heard of any accident or any crime happened last night in the city of Toronto. People drive crazy on the road because people was sitting down watching the game. So it makes a big difference for that government should see that and they sticking to the agenda and they're not going past that agenda. You know, they have a checklist. And if you look at the checklist, sports probably will be the last one at the bottom. So before they go through everything now, then oops, sports is here. They forget. And I think that's what it is. However, in saying this, I mentioned that to you previously, like, you know, our prime football, we don't know. However, what I've seen in Grenada, and I see what the government are doing, I applaud them because I've seen more teams representing Grenada that we haven't seen in the past. And we see more emphasis in sports, and that has to be through the government. No, are they doing more? I don't know. A lot more that we haven't seen before in sports. Because, like, for example, look at the Caribbean Games. We almost hosted it back to back. You know, we don't really see that happening where the government is the biggest donor towards those games. So, yes, I think it's important. I certainly think it's time that heads of states start for, you know, to keep the unity of countries together, to keep the unity of people together. And I certainly see that. We see it in England with soccer. You see how it is. And that's teams. That's not even country. We talk about people traveling. We see the Jamaicans travel to wherever they fix it. Bahamas have 2 planes chartered for the people to come to the Caribbean Games. They are there, they are supportive. And when they come, they are friendly with everybody. You know, when you add those games, you've been to so many games, Michael. So many games, so many stands you've been in. And you met people. You high-five people that you don't even know their name.
And through sports, you
build relationships.
Friends, you know, and build relationships and things like that. So yeah, that's a very important point in terms of unifying and probably we can use cricket, right? Yeah.
They don't fall now. In spite of what they are,
Caribbean people.
Yeah.
And, I think sports is one of it. Cricket in particular that would have kept the Caribbean united over the years.
Over the years.
Despite the failure.
And all the stuff, people gonna get a little radio, and everywhere you go, they have the little radio. There was no TV back then. Everybody,
but Rudieon, but listen to that. If you support West Indies cricket, whether they from Barbados, or Jamaica, or Guyana, Windward, Leeward, wherever they're from, Trinidad and Tobago, you're supporting a team.
You support a team.
You're not supporting an individual. You're not supporting a country. You're supporting a team. And by and large, you
was as a nation when Dominica win a medal. So when St. Lucia win a medal. Even
Yeah,
when
in fact,
even when both was good, whenever the Caribbean is there, it doesn't
yeah,
matter who it is. We all happy. We all celebrate. We all
but even
jump up for them. Yeah,
even when our own Kirani James won,
yeah.
right? They most of the at the time they took that as a win for the region,
I
right?
win for the region.
Uh, uh,
Yeah,
there was a lot of people in the region that celebrated the success of
yeah,
Kirani, right? There are
yeah.
a lot of people outside of Grenada who still continue to support
But as I was about to say that, look, if you
and
go,
support.
if you go to India, you go to India and you mention Grenada, they're going to say Kirani. You go to some of these countries and they mention the name, they're going to say, oh, Kirani James. You just mention Grenada alone. You anywhere you say Jamaica, they're going to say, oh, Bob. So these are let's build something that we really
Yeah,
hope. Like we said, that the ambassadorship after Usain Bolt, after he retired, years after he became ambassador. Years after in Jamaica, and it's like they didn't capitalize on that because in his prime, the amount of tourism they would get a lot more in Jamaica just having him as the ambassador in when it comes to the tourism. They should have used him a
yeah.
long time ago.
But even and I'm glad you made that point in terms of that because there's also the argument, Rudieon, that whether or not we in the Caribbean are using our like sports
Yeah,
ambassadors. I know Antigua, for example, big on because when they have the world travel market and all these sort of things, they use Sir Viv Richards and others to
no,
assist
yeah,
in the promotion of it.
promotion. Yeah,
Unfortunately, we don't see Bolt doing that for Jamaica, right? We hopefully we can see a Kirani James make
play a role some here and there, but
play
they
a
don't use
role
him as they
in
should.
terms of um, because and I know that for a fact because
Yeah, yeah,
I was once upon a time traveling around the world in terms of track and field, and when it goes to Europe, Kirani is a big name in track and field in
huge,
Europe.
huge,
Tourism authority
huge.
should ensure that when they're doing their travel markets in Europe and these sort of places, the name Kirani Jane, not just having it on paper, but he should be
Should
there
be.
in
Yeah,
person, right? Yes, he should be
in
there in
person.
person, like how they use Sir Viv Richard, for example, for
Yeah,
Antigua, and they use others for Barbados and things like that. So we should use who we have, and we do have.
yeah. And I don't like and I personally don't like waiting till somebody
Yeah,
done and
no,
retired to do something.
do
Do
it
it now
now.
in the prime. When in the
I
prime,
agree,
we're doing it, and it should have been done now in literally in
and
their
that's why
prime. Utilize
That's why
them.
I want
Yeah,
to support Arthur Golden's comment when he was on our program
yeah,
in terms of utilizing
yes,
the likes of the Kirani James. And obviously, you have to work with them in terms of their schedule, etc.,
yeah, yeah.
etc. Right?
Schedule and so forth.
But
Yeah,
use them
yeah.
in their prime. You don't have to wait until Kirani say, "Hey,
Use them.
that's it." You
Don't wait.
you have
Yeah,
Kirani, you have you have Anderson, you have Lyndon.
Anderson.
They are
Yeah,
they are
Linda.
world
Yeah,
figures in the sporting fraternity, right? Um, even like I would also say, listen, man, is cricket and has traveled the world over, right?
yep.
My thing is that people like Ron Lewis, who's known in places like India and Pakistan and
Places in India.
yeah,
Yeah,
and things like that. So, right? I remember um, in Atlanta a few months ago while I was there at deployment, and I was out with Camillus Alexander and his academy, and I met some of the young cricketers from his academy, and I was speaking to them, and the amount of information they could have give me about Junior Murray and Devon Smith
yeah,
and Ron Lewis as our cricketers. Could you imagine? I'm talking about 10 and 11-year-old, right? The amount
yeah.
of information they knew about these guys. That's what I'm saying. Use our
use them.
sporting
Use them.
ambassadors.
And I think we fail in that, and a lot of islands is really failing in that area, and they don't see the vision. They even right now, even like you talk about, even I'm watching now, like I said, in Blue Jays, and TD Bank is a big, but they have George Springer doing one of the advertisement for them. The TD Bank. You know what I'm saying? Man, like people who like George Springer say, okay, I need a TD account. Like those type of things. Even in Grenada, use a lot of these people, man. Utilize the areas, then you're gonna find even within your own country, people start going and support you because they see you a supporter of, of that particular athlete. So you have to utilize that. And I think, like I said, that's one of the reasons why Grace in Jamaica is so big, because Grace is involved themselves. They involve themselves. They utilize some of the athletes. They sponsor some of the athletes.
Became an international brand.
You know what I mean? So now you go to almost every supermarket now have Grace Kennedy product in there. You know what I mean? So so that's something I think that really have to be looked at. And if they don't make a mistake, we're gonna lose a lot of our ambassadors to other places and to other people and to other countries because they see the future in what they can do for them than what we can do for our own, or what any country can do for their own.
Because I know our good friend Tia Lafond of Dominica, right?
Dominica, yeah.
Lafond of Dominica. She should be in Grenada sometime, and I like that initiative. Using and when you say our own, even from the Caribbean, right? She should be in Grenada for a session with some of our athletes in the next 2 weeks. We'll have some information from the organizers of that and that. But I applaud that initiative, right? Using our people from the region, people from our own, and things like that. So because she'll be in Grenada, she'll be in Barbados some other time. Likewise, I will hope that we can be at Kirani James in St. Vincent, or So using them.
Yeah, you have to utilize, and especially even we as an OCS nation, the way that's in the OCS, I think we could really use and brand out ourselves and stick together and different sports and unite.
People like Juju and Fia and Kirani and Lyndon and
they could certainly go around work in the region, the sub-region. You'll certainly go in and some schools and you'll do some big things. You'll make a difference in the young people, and they could talk about so many different things. You could have a topic for them that even when they go to the schools, they can speak on this specific topic that could make a difference in this young people's life today, because they are the future. And if you don't look out for them, like we say, if you look out for them, Michael, man, you see many Grenadian athletes over the years who could have been superstars, who never get the opportunity, who never, they never looked at them once, or they did, they just look at them half a time, not even a full one time, and they could have made a difference. And we lose a lot of our athletes, and we're hoping that mistake don't happen, because we have a lot of young, great athletes coming up, which they are putting the time in now. And if you don't look at them and give them the opportunity and recognize them, instead of moving forward, we're going backwards. And we want a forward movement. I'm speaking about Grenada now. I want to see a forward movement, not a backward movement. And I want us to use what we have and use everything. And I'm happy with what Hazelland is doing with myself and a few of us as past Olympians. We have a mentorship that we do. And certainly it's amazing by reaching out to a few of the athletes in Grenada in variety of sports, almost every sport in Grenada. and we have a lot of young kids that we mentor. They ask questions. We bring in people. So it's something that we are doing because we want the forward movement for our athletes in Grenada, and we really do hope that some of this federation could tap in, get involved. Some of this business can get involved in what we are doing in terms of building our young athletes for forwardness.
Another important, interesting, and I'm very happy about that. The Carifta Games being staged in Grenada. Over the past 2 weeks, we have had in fact, our athletes are actually in training. There's a core of athletes who are already in training, preparing for the Carifta Games. Okay, obviously there may be addition to it, or there may be subtraction, whatever it is, but the core of the team is already in training. As it relates to the launching, from what I understood from the public relations officer of the Grenada Athletic Association, launch sometime this month, if not very early next month. Yeah. So sometime between next week or early or the following week, we should have an official launch of Carifta Games 2026. So we'll have lots of information, more information regarding the Carifta Games schedule for the 4th to the 6th of April 2026 in Grenada. The other thing, good news again, the polls start going up for the lighting of the cricket stadium, right? I saw some comments. I saw some comments there that I don't agree with regarding why invest in that, and why not in grassroots, blah blah. Listen, whether you put it or not, in fact, for years people have been clamoring for lights at the cricket stadium, right? Now it's becomes a reality. There are those who are against.
And I will say this, Michael, after you're done.
It's a state responsibility as well to ensure that we provide the necessary infrastructure, including facilities. Now it's up to the various associations, sporting bodies, to get their house in order, to ensure that they have the constituents, as I would say, that can utilize the facilities, because then you can have the athletes and the footballers and the cricketers and whatever, but then you don't have the facility, right? Government is probably clamoring for better facilities. In fact, cricket has and getting what probably other sporting associations which they have. Football has already, track and field has it already, swimming is getting. I am certain there are other sporting bodies like netball and basketball that wish they had some sort of facility at that level, right? So the government is doing its own in terms of providing the facilities. It's up now to the various associations, right, to ensure that the house is in order and that they're doing the necessary development programs, including grassroots, whatever. You can't, push the government into getting involved in doing these sort of things when you have the associations that is then better the government run sports in particular, well, run all sports, okay?
Yeah.
Better you get the government to decide who should be president of this association or whatever. No, I don't want the government to get involved in that. They have a role to play. Their role is to ensure that they provide the necessary facilities and infrastructure, and then it is the association to ensure that they have the various programs for development. Grassroots, right? Go ahead, Rudieon.
Michael, this program is TalkSports.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's about sports. And I think some of these people is bringing politics. We don't dive into politics. It talks about, but some of these people out there who against something going up is politics. It's party alliance. This party and this party, and that shouldn't be. when government is doing something, especially in sports for us, we excited. We are excited. We just talk um, about government getting involved. And when they are getting involved, should we be negative about it? When they are doing something as small as it may be, they are doing something that makes a difference.
But I don't.
And that's the things that we and that's the thing that we want to talk about. Another thing is that I would love to see the upgrades of we love to see an indoor facility. We spoke about it all the time, especially for netball for sure, and volleyball and those type of things. We definitely want to see the hard courts in across Grenada be refurbished, and upgraded across Grenada because that's what we have now. We don't have the indoor facility, and if we do, where it's going to be? And it might be so far from one person. So upgrade some of those the hard courts in those parishes that can benefit for both basketball, netball, and even have volleyball. Volleyball can be done on it as well. So those two things, that's what I would like to see. And if I have to say anything negative, which is not a negative, that's what I would like to see. Upgrade now. You have done so much for all the other sports. I would love to see netball now. Swimming is getting the dues now. I would like to see netball now. Get netball and volleyball because they be vice versa. Get their dues now, especially even with basketball. That I would like to see happening in Grenada. And I'm hoping that somebody in here who listening, I know government agencies put on your topic upcoming the upgrading of those fields of those courts.
Yeah.
I really want to see that in Grenada, across Grenada.
Yeah, and at the same time, it should be a challenge to the various sporting associations.
Yeah.
To ensure that, and despite what they have, that I don't think that should deter you from having those development programs, right?
Yeah.
Training programs, developing our whether it's basketball, netball, whatever it is like that, because we do have some of them. Okay, let me go to
one more thing, Michael, before you go. Listen, we have in terms of soccer, India is cricket. We are not those countries, and they're so serious about it. In Brazil, if when a mother is pregnant, if you know the sex of that child to be born, especially if it's a boy, she registered that child for in a track club for 14 years or 11 years down the road. Because by the time they get to the point, they may not get a spot. So if you register now for upper road, they do it because they take it serious. What we have in Grenada is what we have. Like I said, if we upgrade that and continue doing the sports and see the same thing for netball, especially netball, with the young kids at a young age start pushing netball, start pushing the sport, start pushing it. I think it's going to be important, and I think it's something that we need. And I think that will be helpful if we start at a young age.
Our good friend and Blue Jays supporter, Lincoln Deputy, the same they should make cricket a character games event and pull West Indies off the ICC circuit. Goti is saying, why are we blaming governments? CANOP and its affiliates, in my opinion, the failure of the development of sports. Our officials seem to benefit more than our sportsmen or women, hence the reason. I don't think we are blaming governments in our discourse here. I think you're getting it wrong, Goti. We are saying that governments are doing what we expect them to do in terms of providing the facilities and the infrastructure for sports, right? And we probably should encourage them to do more, right? Yeah. What we are saying is that it's now up to the associations to ensure that they have the constituents who can utilize these facilities, programs, right? So, for example, let's look at the aquatics. They're getting soon, they'll be getting a world-class facility. That should inspire and encourage the Swimming Association to continue the development program so that when the aquatic center
It's ready.
is ready, they have the constituents, they have the swimmers. Likewise, cricket, likewise, but we already with football and these sort of facilities, right? So what we are saying is a challenge for the Sporting Association to ensure that they continue with the development programs, and those who don't have, they ensure that they have development programs, so that whatever facilities or infrastructure that's now available or soon will be available, that they have the necessary sportsmen to utilize. I think that's the context in which you say. So it's a challenge to the Sporting Association. Always be blamed, and I think most times we blame government in terms of providing the facilities, ensuring that they have facilities, things like that. So in this case, you will get him, and in some instances we want more, as Rudieon is saying. In the absence of a indoor facility, proper indoor facility, you probably can upgrade some of the existing hard courts, right? Where the various sporting bodies like basketball and netball and volleyball can continue with their development programs, and including tournaments and things like that. So, right? That is what we're looking at. Rudieon, we've gone past the hour, but we just wrap up in a while. But let our listeners know that come on the 8th of November, because next Sunday, we do the fall. So we go back an hour.
Yeah, yes.
We go back
an hour. Yeah.
Right? So from the 8th of November, we will start at a different time. We have Eastern time, Eastern Caribbean time.
Yeah.
And things like that. So just a little heads up. So we'll let you know. But next program will be the same time, 1 p.m.
Same time,
right?
Yeah, 1
but
p.m.
the following program, that's when we, fall.
Figure out, fall and stuff.
Yes. Important enough. Let's pray for Jamaica. What predicted is not looking nice in reference to water and feet. And I think I saw where they chartered the flight for the Grenadian students to, those who they could have gathered to head home. Grenada. There may be some still in Jamaica, but we keep in Jamaica in our prayers.
For sure.
All of them in the region there in our prayers, because it seems that Jamaica probably will get a hard hit based on the prediction.
Based on the prediction,
It's moving slow, but it seems to be very deadly.
But it's very deadly. Yeah. And every time it happens, all the other Caribbean islands do get a hit. Somewhere, somehow, even with rain or water, it does touch. So, but now, yes, we pray for Jamaica, but we want to pray for all the other regions around the areas as well, because they can get touched too with some heavy rain.
Yes, certainly. So we're keeping them in our prayers. What else we have to discuss before we go, Rudieon? I know lots of sporting activities this weekend. As we said, the NBA is back up.
Certainly. NBA is back on. The surprise last week in the U20 World Cup, seeing an African nation winning the second title. Getting Ghana was the first one to win, and then now Morocco. That certainly was a surprise. That was a surprise to me. I didn't expect them to win. I expect Argentina to win it, but we do see that. One of the things I like about the sport and the U20, now a lot of these young men will be moving up and playing next year's World Cup, and that's really what I like to see. To see young men is rising up. Rising up to the next level. That's what we want to see in sports. And they put their time in. Some of them is leave home and go to academy, for months and months after a time, and they haven't seen home for that moment. So certainly when that moment happened for them, we do want to give them the praise we do want to give them the thanks for that, and I'm really happy to see, like I said, Morocco winning that title, and like I said, second African nation to win after so many years. He says so many things happening. We start big scandal in the NBA is about to come down. We don't know. Listen, is innocent
Yeah.
till proven guilty. That's really how we look at it for now. We could say what we want to say, this and that, but is a fact is innocent until proven guilty. That's basically how it is. And that's really what it is. Nothing much. I saw a cross country in Grenada, one of the schools. Is it convent? Or somebody had a cross country meet in this week past.
So a
So
couple of
it's
for the past
a
a
couple of
couple
them,
of
yeah,
schools have been and they have been on the road.
have been being on the
We
road.
fully expect that. Let's
We
see what
haven't
happens.
heard anything from the GBSs in terms of when they are hosting their games this year. Is it they're still keeping it early again? I
Well,
haven't heard anything. Yeah,
from what I understood, based on what excuse the coach Nicholas Benjamin said in our interview earlier this year
previous you
after
said, yeah,
Intercall.
yeah,
He said that they're
yeah.
looking to have it,
Most likely to keep it the way it
keep it
is.
like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, so we
yeah.
have not heard
So
anything yet,
anything
but
concerning that, yeah.
in terms of confirmation,
Yeah.
if something
And then
come,
because of the character games too, we might see a lot of schools may have it early. A lot of fields now is much better. So certainly we talk about the full recreation ground, we're talking about the progress park. So all those places now is up to par. Most of them have the lights, most of them is ready to go. So certainly I'm excited for our young school kids this year in terms of sports. We see the a lot of football games happening, and we see a lot happening. And Michael, I'm excited for what's going on in Grenada. Yes, we are here speaking about the one thing we're speaking about. We're seeing some of it is happening. We know they are putting sports first in the sense we understand the school sports or academics do come first, but we are seeing sports happening. We have seen the young people. Not on the street, not getting themselves in the area, but playing sports, and that's really what we want. We want to see that, and certainly I'm pleased to see that. Yeah,
yeah. All right then. Thank you very much, Rudieon, and all the
no
best for
problem.
the weekend and all of folks, Garden and Goatee. We have to talk sometime. Well, your good friend Toro, I assume he's smarting from air to air over that Blue Jays win. Um,
It was a shocker, Michael. I had my mouth open for a very long time. I was in shock. I didn't expect. I wanted them to win. I didn't expect a blowout like this. I did not, because what I think we do two things: either we continue with the pace that we on, or we got the Dodgers upset, or they are upset. They are upset because they are a phenomenal baseball team. They are a good baseball team, all rounded, not just in one area, all rounded. So certainly, tonight is going to be. We'll see. We'll see what happened. We'll see what happened.
all right, though.
But
See that.
go Jays go!
Yeah. All right, and thank you very much, Sam.
All
You've
right,
been
no,
such
same to you, Sam. All
yeah.
right,
Thank you very
all right.
much,
Have a
Rudy.
good one. No problem.
Okay. All right then. So that's our good friend Rudy and Sylvan in Toronto. Certainly smarting from air to air himself and Toro and all the folks because the Blue Jays had a first week, World Series. Well, yeah. And the game one, they took that. Let's see what will happen in game two. Whether or not the Dodgers will probably square it off before they head off to LA. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, folks. Toro say Blue Jays tonight. Let's see. So as we said, we have another program that will be on the 1st of November. That will be our first program for, is it? Yes, the 1st of November. And then the following, same time, 1 o'clock, that's within Eastern time. And then the following Saturday, we'll, have a little adjustment to the time. At this time of the year, we do the adjustment because of the time change. We have the Eastern Standard Time and the Eastern Caribbean Time. Folks, that's all for this weekend. Until then, do have yourself a pleasant weekend.